Today I'm giving my brutally honest review of The Sims 4 Cats and Dogs. This is part of a series where I review every single pack for The Sims 4, including all of the older ones, a new video uploaded every Monday. The Sims 4 Cats and Dogs pack includes a brand new Create a Pet tool in the CAS menu. With this pack you can bond with your pets, become a vet, and run a veterinary clinic, and there is a brand new world to explore. Starting off with the CAS, obviously there's a human side of the CAS before we get on to pets. I only have one word for the CAS for Human Sims, and that is horrendous. It is safe to say all expenses were spared, and what we have is a set of horrifically ugly items of clothing that look like they came from a charity shop. The Ice Gem Queef hair is probably the most terrifying of them all. All of the outfits are completely uninspired and they're lazy, and absolutely nothing looks nice. You can definitely tell all of the resources went into the pets CAS. There are actually tons of customization options with loads of presets and sliders to change things. The presets are easier to use than the sliders compared to Human Sims in my opinion. Pets have a color wheel and brushes allowing you to create literally anything, including very unrealistic patterns on them. Of course, if you cannot be bothered to create patterns, you can just use the presets, but there are a ton of small details that make every single pet really unique and special. Of course, there are tons of breeds of pets to choose from. The breed selector tool makes choosing a basic pet really easy. It also has a crossbreed genetics feature, which is really realistic and cool actually. This pet's CAS is honestly top notch when it comes to genetics. Once you've made your pet, you can choose the traits for them. There are enough to make it feel like your pets are unique, especially seeing that they're obviously not as complex as Human Sims. There's definitely a lot to choose from, and you genuinely feel when you're playing like these traits actually come into play. You can change the pet's age from either a kitten or puppy to an adult to an elder. You can change their voice, and you can even change their pronouns. I didn't know you could have gender neutral pets. I didn't know if that was a thing or not, but apparently it is, in The Sims 4 at least. There are absolutely no faults with the pet side of the CAS. However, the human side of the Cats and Dogs pack in terms of CAS is horrendous, but the main point of this pack is about pets, not about Human Sims, so I will not hold it against the CAS too much. So the CAS for this pack is getting a 7 out of 10. Moving on to the build buy. Unfortunately, I was actually very much unimpressed with this build buy. Don't get me wrong, there are a lot of nice objects for Human Sims. The build buy is inspired by the world of Brindleton Bay. There's a lot of nice stuff to decorate houses. In fact, there's stuff for almost every single room in your Sims houses. There's a brand new harbour area of the new world, which I'll go over later, but there's a lot of objects for that too. Just a lot of barrels and seaside themed stuff. It also has some very nice floor planks, and in general, it does have a very consistent theme that matches the world. It's just bloated with way too many random things that don't have much substance, like random posters. Don't get me wrong, there are many decals and things, for example, to create community lots like bars and restaurants and cafes, even though they don't really come with the pack. It's just the main issue I have with the build buys that there's barely anything for pets. The pet beds are like pancakes, they're uninspired and they look horrendous. Weirdly, we have more cat litter trays than we do pet beds. There's no quirky or fun pets build buy. I would have loved to have seen a pet bed that looks like a throne, one that looks like a castle, or at least something that looks more plush than just a flat piece of cardboard with a bit of paint over it. I honestly expected so much more from the build buy, seeing that the entire point of this pack is about cats and dogs. You'd expect that it would come with more stuff that your cats and dogs can interact with, or at least just a little bit more variety than the plain or boring selections that we have. The build buy is nice for Human Sims, but the whole point of the pack is pets, and I just don't feel like they went far enough with the pets. In fact, they honestly just gave us the bare minimum, and it's not acceptable for an expansion pack that's priced at that much money. And even though the human stuff is nice, this is a pets pack, so based on mostly the pet stuff that we have, the build buy is unfortunately getting a 3 out of 10. Moving on to the world, this is one of the biggest worlds in the game with a lot of potential. There are 4 main areas. It's a very big world. The lighthouse area is a separate private island, and you can actually get there via a boat if you wanted to. The lighthouse area is full of ghosts at nighttime, and that's because there's a graveyard, although you can't actually put gravestones in there yourself, unfortunately. Your Sims can woohoo in the lighthouse. It is a brand new woohoo location. There's also a harbour area which is actually really nice and one of my favorite areas in the entire game. It's perfect for making bars, or if you have dine out, it's really great for making restaurants too. There's also a couple of nice hidden away lots if you like building. They're a bit more secluded. There's also another area which comes with a park for pets, and then there's another more residential area which has a huge beach. Most of the areas in this are designed for dog walking, so there are lots of different routes to take. There are some hidden treasures around the world for your pets to explore. There are also tons of stray animals everywhere, although I must say it does get very annoying after a while. If you enjoy beaches, there are a lot of beaches in this world, and in general I would say it is very pretty and looks quite nice with the Seasons Pack 2. It's just not the most inspired when it comes to gameplay. There are barely any gameplay elements here or any real reason to explore the world outside of the lots other than just to walk your dog. The world is nice, but it just lacks a bit of substance. It's getting a 7 out of 10. Moving on to the most important part, the gameplay. Unlike the previous Sims games, this is not a pets pack, it's just a cats and dogs only pack, which I will come on to later. For both cats and dogs, there are various different interactions which affect your relationship with them. There is a Simsagram pet feature where you can take pictures of your pets. However, this feature is extremely flawed and implemented poorly, and it's almost impossible to actually take a normal picture of your pets. Pets cannot be controlled without mods at least and have their own autonomy. However, with the pet training skill, which goes up to level 5, you do have a bit more of a say in terms of what your pets do. Looking at dogs specifically, firstly, you have to look after them by obviously feeding them, giving them baths and things. There are various different interactions, like you can hug them, you can play with them, you can talk with them. There are toys as well. I tried to get my sim to play fetch with the dog. Unfortunately though, the interaction with this failed a little bit, so I don't have much to show you. Pets can be trained to perform tricks with the new pet training skill. You can teach them to do things like roll over or talk. If they do it right, you can praise them. If they don't, you can scold them. The generic pet training is okay, but it doesn't really have that much substance. There's not really like a pets competition where you can show off your skills or anything, so there's not really any reason to do this. The pack does come with a pet obstacle course. They're individual items that you can place down in any way you like. When I did it, the dog actually seemed to go through the course in a natural order, which was quite impressive. Depending on how well you do, you'll get a score, but unfortunately there isn't really a special competition you can do or anything, so it is a bit of a lazily implemented feature and there's not really any reason to do it. Every now and then dogs will sometimes do naughty things like drinking toilet water, and you do have to scold them for it. Of course, you can take your pets on walks every day. You can go on a short, medium or long walk. There isn't really much depth to the walking feature. For example, dogs won't bark at other dogs when walking past them. They won't wee on the side. They won't sniff different things. They just don't really do anything that dogs would normally do. The sim just walks a dog in a straight line. Sometimes the sim will just stand around idly and then turn around. There's literally no depth to it at all. Dogs can swim in the ocean, but unfortunately they can't swim in swimming pools, and it is only large dogs who can swim in the ocean, so they didn't actually bother to put it in for small dogs. Cats work in a very similar way, but they do require a lot less attention. Of course, you do have to feed them, but obviously you can't bath them and things like dogs. You can't really teach them tricks like dogs. In that sense, cats are probably the easier animal to look after in The Sims 4. Although they can't perform tricks, they can actually run the obstacle course like dogs, which I found quite strange actually. Cats, however, are not, again, the most in-depth pet in the world. They can't really do that much. They don't have that many quirks which make them interesting. They more so just walk around licking themselves, although I guess that's what cats do in real life, so you can't blame them. Both animals, by the way, can woohoo. You can actually try to encourage them to woohoo with another animal and produce offspring if you like. And if you would like to, you can go to the veterinary clinic with this pack and get your pets neutered. Also, sometimes your pets may get ill, so you'll have to take them to the vets anyway. Looking at the actual vets gameplay itself, it works just like running a shop in the Get to Work pack. Firstly, you have to actually buy a veterinary clinic or design your own. There is one in the game. It costs 72,000 simoleons, so you'll probably have to cheat your way there to get it unless you actually start from scratch. When you start the career, there's only one job role, which is a vet. There's no receptionist or anything. You can hire other NPCs to do it with you, or you can do it all yourself. When you start the working day, human sims will turn up with pets and you have to greet the pets, and then they automatically walk to a pedestal. On this pedestal, they are then examined and you can choose a different treatment for them. There's no real skill to this. You just have to guess what you're doing by patiently waiting for your skill to raise. A veterinary veterinary career skill, and then eventually you'll just become better at being a vet. At level 10 of the veterinary skill, by the way, you can actually make an ambrosia pet treat which raises pets from the dead. And yes, pets do die and they can become ghosts. On the top left, there's actually a bar indicating what's wrong with the pet. There's also another needs bar on top of that which increases and goes red, and this is the pet stress level. If the pet does get very stressed while you're trying to treat them, you'll actually have to try and calm them down. The veterinary clinic career is okay, I'm not gonna lie, it does get slightly boring after a while, but it's something fun to do just for a little bit. After the end of the working day, you do actually get customer reviews, and these reviews guide you on how to actually boost your veterinary ratings. You also get business perks, and these can help to improve your business, although I wish there were a few more perks. In general, I will actually say the veterinary career is actually really fun. I really love careers and business gameplay in The Sims 4, so if you are interested in that side of the gameplay, I don't think it disappoints. The general gameplay of the Cats and Dogs pack is a nice gimmick when you start playing with the pets, but I'm not gonna lie, it does get a little bit tired after a while. There's not really much to do with them other than just them existing. Like I said before, I wish there were, for example, pet competitions like in real life. I wish your pets could get married and things like people do in those weird documentaries. I wish pets could get famous. There's just not that much pet gameplay, and what does exist is extremely shallow, especially compared to previous Sims games. In previous Sims games, you could own many animals and not just cats and dogs. This included birds, guinea pigs, snakes, lizards, turtles, and horses. Although technically we do have guinea pigs in The Sims 4, but you first have to purchase the My Second Pet Stuff DLC pack for the Cats and Dogs DLC pack in order for that to happen. In previous Sims games, we also had NPC rodents such as skunks that could run amok on your lot. We also used to have pet jobs such as a movie star job, a rescue pet job, or a security pet, but not in The Sims 4. Pets would also used to have lifetime aspirations, but again, not in The Sims 4. There is also barely any gameplay for child and toddler Sims, and I'm assuming that's because EA didn't want to bother making the animations for them. I'm assuming all of the budget for this pack went on the cast for pets and on nothing else, because it's honestly so shallow and there is barely any gameplay, and the gameplay that does exist is often poorly implemented or just not engaging enough to want to play with it. The gameplay for this pack is awful. I think this pack was made to make money because it's one of the most popular Sims pack ideas ever since The Sims 1, and I don't really feel like they just went far enough with it, and it was incredibly lazy, or at least unresourceful. Unfortunately, the gameplay is getting a 3 out of 10. The Sims 4 is a buggy game, so we have to look at performance. Greeting pets in the vet career was very buggy, and sometimes interactions failed and pets and Sims failed to path each other correctly. There was one point when I was trying to help a cat and the interaction failed honestly several times. The cat would just get up and go somewhere, my Sim would go and play games on the PC. It was an absolute nightmare, and it did ruin the career for me. Playing fetch with the dog didn't occur outside, even though I tried to make it occur outside naturally. When it did occur, it happened inside, and then the interaction failed and ended very promptly. There was a glitch when I tried to make my cat use the obstacle course, and the cat just kept running inside when doing the obstacle course. So it would do like one thing, and then it would run inside, and then my Sim would chase it, and then it would run back outside and go on another obstacle and do the same thing again and again and again. As I said before, there were some weird pathing issues with dog walking where your Sim would just stand around idly doing nothing, not know where to go. Pets were also just generally a little bit glitchy when it came to pathing, and they would sometimes glitch through objects a little bit, and it just came across as quite unnatural and did ruin the immersion of the game. Glitches are something that should happen very rarely and not interrupt natural gameplay, but for me, it interrupted with this pack a lot, so unfortunately it is getting a 3 out of 10 for performance. Moving on to cross-pack compatibility, dogs have a couple of interactions with cottage living animals and they can chase away wild foxes. However, the fake foxes and fake raccoons do not interact with real foxes in the cottage living pack. This pack is obviously very compatible with My Second Pet Stuff, but that is for the wrong reasons, as most of us know. In terms of werewolves, even though dogs and werewolves are basically the same animal, there's not really much interaction between them. Sometimes dogs might howl with werewolves, but there's not really anything else. Funnily enough, cats actually act weirdly around mermaids if you own Island Living, and they sniff with them, which is quite hilarious. Get Together has a Care for Animals club activity, but unfortunately there is no dog walking club. If you own the Realm of Magic pack, pets can become familiars. And if you own the Vampires pack, weirdly, if your vampire works as a vet, they can actually extract plasma bags from Pets as a vet and drink them. Pets interact with weather with seasons and they are afraid of lightning, but I would have liked some more interactions, for example, interactions for dogs in snow. If you own the Parenthood pack, filling pet food bowls raises responsibility for child sims. Also, kids who play with the Doctor set in Parenthood will gain a special moodlet called Dream Come True if they become a vet. Also, if you own the Nifty Knitting pack, cats will play with the ball of yarn that comes with the pack. I do think this pack would have been a lot more special if there was more integration with, for example, a dog training club or a dog walking club with Get Together, but for what it's worth, this pack actually has a lot of cross-pack compatibility, so it's getting an 8 out of 10. This is part of the review where I give my overall conclusion of the pack and my general feeling towards it. In total, this pack is getting a 5 out of 10. The pack fills a void in family gameplay, and it makes having a family in The Sims 4 a little bit more enriching and enjoyable. That's simply just because pets exist. There just isn't enough gameplay to substantiate this being an expansion pack. I do believe the pack is very overpriced, and I would have rather they just focus a little bit less on bloating the pack with pointless build buy in a huge world and actually just focus more on gameplay. There is less gameplay in this pack than we actually have in, for example, Round with Magic or Vampires or Werewolves, and these are game packs, so it is unacceptable. I do think this pack was released in a capitalistic way. As I said before, pets have always been the most popular thing in The Sims, and I think they fit the demographic of players very well, so I think the Sims team knew that they could get away with not really giving us that many features, and it is a shame that they didn't really care that much with this pack, and I think it's because, well, allegedly, in my opinion, they know that players will just buy it anyway, regardless of how shallow it is. As I said, I know the Pets pack is very popular, and I'm sure a lot of you guys are going to really hate me for giving this pack a bad review, but reviewing it from an unbiased perspective as a person who doesn't gush over pets, as a person who just enjoys fun gameplay, I genuinely just could not get any fun gameplay out of this pack, really. And it's a shame because I do like the idea of owning a pet in The Sims 4, it just didn't go far enough. I have a whole playlist of brutally honest reviews that I update every single Monday, so make sure you save the playlist in order to get an unbiased opinion on the packs. Thank you so much for watching, see you in the next one.